It's very rare that Nintendo makes us wait for a game as long as we've had to wait for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It's been over 8 years since this game was announced at E3 2017, and only now do we get to play it. And when you consider that it's been 18 years since the last game in the series came out, there was a lot of anticipation that this game had to live up to. And unfortunately, I think this game makes me wonder what's been going on inside Retro Studios during the development of this game. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game, it's a good one and I enjoyed it a lot. And everything that it has that makes Metroid Prime is very good. But I think the game is a little bit misguided in the things that it tries to add to the formula. And even though it's been in development for so long, it's been over 6 years since development was rebooted at Retro Studios, it still feels like a lot of elements here were kind of cobbled together at the last minute. But I want to start with the positives, because there are a lot of them and they're pretty striking still. So visually, I have to say, I played this game on the Switch too, of course, and the game looks gorgeous. So in terms of like polygons and the geometry, it's not as complex as you might expect from games that are built from the ground up for the Switch 2. After all, this is still a Switch 1 game as well. But everything that the Switch 1 version has is cleaned up immensely in the Switch 2 edition. Like, everything looks super sharp, there's a lot more detail, things just look gorgeous, and the art direction is fantastic. Like, the first area I think is my personal favorite, just visually and in terms of audio. It's beautiful. Fury Green looks absolutely fantastic. I love the forest setting, all the set pieces and everything just really comes together very well, and it's absolutely beautiful. But the rest of the game also looks really nice. Like, even the desert, which is very empty and barren, it still has something to it that kind of tells you like, this isn't just like a very lazy looking desert, if that makes sense. Like, it still sort of feels like there was effort put into how it looks. So everything about the visuals here is very impressive, and even though it's not made for the ground up for the Switch 2, it really does take advantage of it. It looks fantastic on this new hardware. And from what I've heard, it also looks pretty good for a Switch 1 game. So visually, all around, very good. And the same can be said for the music, which again, is absolutely fantastic here. Much like with the visuals, my favorite part here is the beginning. Fury Green, that setting has the most beautiful music in the entire game, in my opinion. It's the one we saw in the trailer for the reveal last year at the Nintendo Direct, and it's so beautiful. It's a wonderful track. You know, the other ones are also fantastic tracks that really fit their environment, but I think I do like that forest feel that comes with Fury Green. Like, it's just absolutely fantastic. But yeah, the music across the entire game is very good. It suits the environments every time. Like, everything is fantastic. The music that plays, like when you're encountering enemies, like the things change in certain ways. Like, there's certain notes that appear in the music to signal that there are enemies coming at you. And you know, it just, everything comes together really well to make for a very cool environment to be in. The open world doesn't have music. That's actually something that's been pointed out. Like, the amiibo unlocks music in the open world, but even then, I think the environment sounds of the open world, it still kind of works for me. Like, obviously, it's not anything insane, but I don't know, it's very muted, but I kind of like it all the same. Like, it contributes to that feeling of loneliness that Metroid is kind of known for, and I think it still works pretty well for what it is. And the gameplay and the controls of this game are also top-notch, like some of the best that Metroid has had. Like, the gameplay, there's not a ton that's like super innovative for the series, but there are some new things, some new twists to the things that you're used to. Some really fun stuff. I think one of my favorite things that I think is new, I've only played the first Metroid Prime, but when you're in Morph Ball mode, you have this sort of slingshot ability. You can like attach to a certain grab point and like sling yourself across environments. And I think there's a lot of areas that make use of those traversal mechanics and I think it works really well. I think it's a very fun mechanic to play with. But overall, like all the mechanics that you're used to, like there's obviously the beam, the charge beam, missiles, elemental shots, and those can be upgraded, and that also like adds a lot of, that sense of progression that makes Metroid really satisfying. It's all here. I don't know for sure how much of the weapons are new. I know the elemental shots themselves aren't new, but the upgrades that you can get for them, I think they haven't all been in Metroid before. There's some cool upgrades there. One that I ended up really liking was the super electric shot. Really fun to use, very effective at destroying enemies. So that's all very, very good stuff, very fun stuff. It's everything you expect from Metroid Prime, but it's leveled up in some ways that it just helps make it a lot more fun. And the controls do too, to be fair. Like, I think the controls on the Switch 2 version, fantastic, because it's so easy. When you're exploring, you don't really want to be in mouse mode all the time. So I'll just hold the 2 Joy-Con and I'll move the camera, at my own pace with the second analog stick. But then when I enter combat and I need to be more precise and faster, I can just, without touching any menus, without touching anything, just put the right Joy-Con down, and the mouse aiming just works. Like, it just activates automatically. There's very, very little delay. Like, there's nothing that really impacts the experience when you're switching from controller mode to mouse mode. Like, everything just works really, really well. Everything flows really well. It's like the controls work super well. It's fantastic. After that, things get a little bit more dicey. So let's talk about the characters and story. That's something that was very talked about before the release of the game, and something that I think was blown way out of proportion, at least initially, because yeah, everyone was freaking out about the new Galactic Federation characters that appear, and now they're very chatty, and they take away from the feeling of isolation that Metroid has. For most of the game, I did not feel that way, and I did enjoy the characters, for who they are. I think they were interesting enough and different enough from each other that it was interesting to see them talk, and they're not nearly as annoying as initial impressions make out to be. Like, they have sections where they do follow you and they can be pretty chatty at times, but you still spend a lot of time mostly by yourself. The sense of isolation and loneliness is definitely still there. Like, you still really feel like you're figuring these things out a lot of the time. Like, you're just exploring this for the first time, which is what you want out of a Metroid game. And I think it does that pretty well. Like, I don't think the characters get too annoying. I think the most that'll happen, the most consistent thing that'll happen is that Mackenzie, when you're in the open world, every now and then, he'll ring on your radio and tell you to do this or that. But even then, it's not too frequent until the end of the game. And I don't understand the thought process there. Like, it is so weird, because I spent a lot of time in the open world while I was still, traversing, completing every part of the map. Like, I would always try to collect the green crystals, find secrets and all of that. Like, I didn't wait until the end of the game to do those things. I would just do it between everything else that I was doing. So I spent a good amount of time in the open world. And during that time, Mackenzie wasn't actually that annoying. He would come in on the radio every now and then with reminders to go do this or that. But then it feels like once you get to just before the final sequence, he gets so much more annoying. Like, when you have to collect enough green crystals to get the end of the game, or if you're actually trying to 100% it, like, when you get to that point, you're just in the open world most of the time, and he's constantly coming in through the radio, telling you, oh, if you don't know where to go, you can talk to me. Oh, you're all waiting for you, something. Like, it's all at the end of the game, when you've already learned the entire world. For some reason, they made the characters so much more annoying, and I don't understand why. I don't get it. There's no benefit to it. Like, I feel like the behavior in the first 80% of the game is totally fine, and then the last section there, They just made them way more annoying for no reason whatsoever. But there's another problem with the new characters they've added, which is something here just feels really incomplete. It feels like they wanted to have these characters get closer to Samus and form a relationship with her in a way. But it never feels like that really happens, and I don't know, it's weird. So the problem is all of these characters are very talkative, all of them. They talk a good bunch and they communicate with you as people do. Like, that's why I don't really have a problem with it. Like, if you're a galactic soldier, like, I don't think the idea that you'd be stranded on a planet with other people and that those people talk, I don't think that's some outlandish concept that ruins the game. Like, I think that's kind of ridiculous to say. But I think what the problem really is that these characters don't talk to Samus, right? And Samus is a pretty stoic character, as always been. She's usually silent. But like, she's actually just expressionless in this game. Like, obviously, and like the fact that she doesn't talk, you don't see her face, those things are given, you know, usually. But then she actually just is expressionless. Like, she barely nods or shakes her head. Anything, when like if someone asks her a question, you just see her there standing still, like no reaction whatsoever. Every now and then she'll do like the slightest nod. You can barely tell she's moving. It just feels like every time she has no reaction to anything. Like, she doesn't care about anything that's happening in the events of the story. Like, anything that relates to these characters, she's just completely indifferent to it. She'll barely even nod. I don't understand why she's so stiff in this game. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me. It's really weird. And then like towards the end, there's this section where like one of the characters that you meet, like, he'll just appear at random spots throughout the open world and he'll try to form like this connection with you. And that's also kind of cool, I guess. Like, you get to hear some of his stories. Like, the stories don't really add much necessarily, I don't think, but he does give you some rewards. And yeah, he has some, you know, it feels like he's trying to get closer with Samus again. Like, that's something that the characters seem to want to do. But again, she's very expressionless, barely reacts to anything. So it's like, doesn't really come together very well. Like, it just feels like that connection isn't there. And it really doesn't, because like story-wise, you have all these characters contributing to the story and doing things to help you. And then at the end, there's just no payoff for it. Like, it feels like none of it really matters. I don't know how to say it without it being like actual spoilers, but like, it feels like there is no payoff for the relations that these characters try to form with Samus. Like, the very, very ending sequence as a little thing that is kind of the payoff for that, but like, it's so little and so almost inconsequential. Like, I don't know, like, something is missing in the story here. Like, there's just something that doesn't quite connect. Like, they had these things that could be building up to something cool, and they just don't. Like, it's so weird. And that is also like really not helped by the fact that like the villain, same thing. Like, Silex, he's a big thing now. He's appeared in like special ending sequences in a couple of previous games, and I believe he was in Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS. I don't really know the backstory of Silex because I haven't played any of the games that he's in aside from Federation Force, but even then he was in one of the special endings, which I don't think I unlocked because that game is not that fun. So it's like, I don't really know much about Silex coming in. And this game tells you nothing, like absolutely nothing. Like, he attacks you at the beginning in the scenes that you've seen in the trailers and the demos and all that. And then you don't really see him until like the end of the game. And there's never really any explanation as to why he's out for Samus, like what he's got against her, why he's even on this planet to begin with. I assume maybe probably because of the events at the beginning, but I don't understand why his main goal is to attack Samus. Like, nothing really connects in terms of the story. And there's also no connection between this story and anything else that's really happened before. Like, it's weird. Like, I get it, it's a standalone story and that's a good thing in a way, but like, there's just nothing that really places this game on the timeline as far as I can tell. So yeah, the story just kind of falls flat. It's really unfortunate because I think the lore of the world that you're in is still pretty interesting. Like you're learning about the Lemorn, which is the species that lived on that planet before you arrive, like, and their plans. I think all of that is still interesting. Like it's pretty rewarding to scan things and learn the story of the species on that planet. Like I think that's pretty cool stuff. But that's about it. Like there's nothing. Like there's nothing else to the story here, and that's really disappointing. So yeah, it kind of falls flat there. And then the other thing that this game tries to add is that open world, which I've already mentioned briefly. Like it's barren, and it is barren. It's a desert, and that kind of makes sense conceptually. Like yeah, you make it a desert, of course it's barren, but did it have to be a desert? Did it have to be so empty? Like this is a big open world that takes a good while to traverse. Like obviously, not open. It's a hub world, but like I've seen it compared to like Hyrule Field in Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess. And yeah, from the perspective of being a hub world, it is like that. But it's so much more empty and uninteresting. Like it's a desert. Like there's not really hills that are like stand out in any way. Like there's dunes and stuff, but like nothing that visually really stands out in the scenery. There's no caves, there's nothing really interesting to it. And then they scatter these shrines throughout the desert, kind of like a Breath of the Wild sort of thing, but like there's only 6, I believe, 6 or 8, something like that. So like it's still a very empty area. Like the whole thing is very empty. And the shrines are cool to do, but again, they're very empty. And I saw this pointed out by someone else, and it's a good point. And like, some of the shrines you can enter, but you can't actually solve because you don't have the right abilities yet. But then some of the shrines, they just have a lock at the entrance that prevents you from going in. And at that point, like, if you need a certain ability to go in, why not just put that lock on all of them so you don't go in and waste time trying to figure out how to do it once you're inside? Like it's kind of weird that isn't really done super well there. So yeah, like the problem with the open world isn't that it's bad, it's that it's pointless. Like there's no real reason for this open area to really be there because it's not that interesting. Everything looks the same. Like finding waypoints in the middle of the map is almost impossible. Like once they're marked on your map, kinda, but like you still have to constantly be opening the map screen so you can actually know where you're facing, because even the radar isn't super helpful in telling you where you are. So it's like, it's not fun to be in the open world. It functions. It's not actively annoying, but it also just doesn't really add anything to the experience. So it is very unfortunate the way that it's done. And yeah, really those are the two big things. Like you got Viola, obviously that's a big thing that is mostly used for traversing the world. And it is fun. Also, the controls for Viola, very good. Like driving Viola or riding Viola, very smooth. I actually really enjoy just the feeling of being on the bike and moving. Like it's very smooth, very well done. I appreciate that. And I think it looks super cool, to be fair. But that's about it. Like really, there's just nothing really to it. Like you ride the bike, you can do a boost, you can do the power slide thing, which looks kind of cool, admittedly. But it's just not a whole lot that makes this world interesting. Like there's things scattered throughout that hub area, but all of it is just haphazardly like thrown at random spots on the map and like don't really stick out because it's either dunes or these little plateaus they're still made of rock, like basically this almost the same color. So like there's no visual variety, there's no landmarks that you can really look at and tell, oh, I'm going the right way because this or that. Like there isn't really much aside from like the main areas that you explore outside of the upworld, because those areas are one in each corner and you can kind of see them from afar. So like that's kind of how you can tell that you're kind of going in the right general direction, but it's not really amazing. So yeah, it's just not super well delivered. So yeah, Metroid Prime 4 is a good game. Like, I think gameplay wise it's fantastic. It's like the exploration is great, the controls are great, the combat works well and does the job as it always has. Some people don't love it. I think it's pretty fun. I think having the mouse controls really adds a little bit more intensity and fun into it. Like, it feels nice to play. The boss fights are pretty good too. Like, I like all the boss fights. They're decently challenging. I played in normal mode and I died a few times. Yeah, and the visuals and music, both absolutely fantastic. Like, it's a great game in all those aspects. And I think when you take all of that, that already makes the game worth playing. But then, you know, you place it in the Metroid franchise and you look at everything else that franchise has done. And it just falls short, you know, because the story doesn't really connect. It just the elements that begin it don't really connect with the end of it. Like, nothing really feels complete, you know. And then the characters they added, like, they don't feel impactful, and the hub world that they added doesn't feel necessary. Like, it just feels like they tried to do a couple of things differently from the previous Metroid Prime games, but they kind of rushed it, or they didn't know how to make it interesting or something. Like something here just feels like it wasn't fully thought through in the way that Metroid Prime games usually are. Like, they usually feel like very cohesive, you know, experiences. And here it feels like some elements were thrown at it in a way that doesn't feel like that. So it is a little disappointing coming from previous Metroid Prime games. Well, for me, only from the first one. I haven't played 2 or 3, to be fair. But it does feel disappointing coming from Metroid Prime Remastered to this, and knowing that it's been so long since those games were made, and they couldn't manage to add something that really was meaningful. So yeah, that's unfortunate, but this is still a good game and I still recommend it. Like, I had a lot of fun with it. It's just not what we had hoped it would be, and I think it really shows why Nintendo usually doesn't announce games so far ahead. Because when you announce this game in 2017, you reboot development in 2019 because it wasn't living up to your standards. And then 6.5 years later, the game comes out and it still leaves you with this feeling that they could have done more. Like, that's not good. That's why, like, a shorter release, at least people don't have time to build that anticipation and expectation. And those shortfalls aren't seen as much of a failure, and like, it's more like a poor decision or something. But like, when you take this long to make a game, you kind of expect it to be like really perfected, and it wasn't. And that's kind of the problem here. So yeah, I can understand some of the criticisms. I still really like this game and I recommend it, but it's not the game we were hoping for, I think. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Bye.